I had a circuitous route, one could say, but it I got there, and I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be at this point in my career and at this point in Roberson's life cycle. So I went to 4 different colleges, I think, and including SUNY Broome, Binghamton University, and then I got my master's degree from Pratt Institute in New York in arts and cultural management. But because I had always been involved and invested in nonprofits in the community, that led me down this path into arts and cultural management. So I got my master's from there, and my first job out of college was at WSKG Public Media right here in Vestal. I started out as the arts and culture coordinator, and then in the next 5 years, I got promoted to the director of development, who's in charge of fundraising for the organization. And right about that time, when I was thinking it was time to move on, to try new things, do something more challenging, the job at Roberson opened up. The director had put in her notice, said that she was moving down south, and I threw my hat in the ring. I think I was 32 at the time. I guess I was probably not really expecting to get the job at 32 years old. So I was quite astonished when I got the phone call that said, "How'd you like to come run a museum?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I sure would. Sounds like fun." I take a really liberal view of what art is. And some of that just has to do with my education. I studied art, fine art throughout high school, and then got an associate's degree in interior design, and then a bachelor's degree in graphic design. So I see art everywhere. Anything that has been created by human hands, generally I see as a piece of art, whether it's the chairs that we're sitting on, the microphones that we're talking into. Someone had to design these things, and I think of design, whether it's industrial design, product design, I think of these things as art. Taking art classes where even if you don't think you're any good, even if you don't think you've got the coordination for it or the vision for it, the value of art classes is that it teaches you to think differently. It teaches you to see the world differently. And that's a transferable skill into, I don't care what your job is, every job needs that. The arts and cultural management thing came about because I was working in Manhattan for a celebrity interior designer. And that job taught me a lot about organizational skills, crisis management, and kind of how to function in a workplace. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about that job was that it was a very creative environment. So it was office work, but I got to work with the other designers, the principal interior designer, and because he was a celebrity, I also got to interact with folks who were doing like media and publications, and we were writing books and all these other things, and I loved that creative atmosphere. And that's what got me looking into, like, I guess what I would call the business of art. What is the business of art broadly? So when I was going to Pratt for my master's degree, I was actually commuting back and forth. I was going to classes on the weekends in Manhattan and working full-time in Binghamton. Full-time school and full-time work with a 6-hour, 7-hour round trip commute every week. It wears on you. So, but I was living in New York for a while. I was in my early 20s when I had the job with the interior designer. And I decided that I wanted to be home. It was not a lifestyle that I felt was conducive to me. clearly I love this community and I feel really strongly about it, and I have been an advocate for Greater Binghamton broadly for decades, I guess. One of the things that I love about this community is there's a sense of scale here that I think is really accessible for a lot of people. You have a whole bunch of different, it's almost like we're like the back lot of a movie set, where if you want to look at beautiful old houses, we have those right on Riverside Drive. If you need to shoot some footage over the suburbs, I can direct you to the place in Vestal or Endicott to do that. If you are looking for industrial, we have that. And that variety of what goes on here I find really appealing. And also the diversity of people who live here, as a community that was very much built on immigration as a consequence of manufacturing. The fact that we are such a diverse community, religiously, ethnically, on and on the list goes, that brings value to my life. I think those things are important, and I want to be in a place where those things are valued, which I believe is the case here.